Potsdam police.
My name is Marrissa Vogel. I thought I heard some screaming like no and help a couple of times.
Nearly 2 years, no arrests have been made yet. The family holds on to hope that one day the person responsible will be brought to justice.
To label him for exactly what he is, the murderer of a helpless 12-year-old boy.
Because I think I have crossed the line of being a black man, honestly.
You think it's all about race?
It is. I sincerely think it's all about race.
In 2011, 12-year-old Garrett Phillips was found brutally murdered in his apartment. There was nothing to go on except for an open window and limited DNA samples. Yet, investigators suspected one man, the mother's ex-boyfriend, Nick Hillary, who reportedly did not get along with the little boy. Nick denied having anything to do with the murder and claimed that he was being profiled because of his race. Investigators insisted he was the killer. So who is really telling the truth? And if Nick didn't do it, who did? And why? Let's explore the case of the 12-year-old who was found strangled to death in his home. So let's start from the beginning. Of course, we have the main character, Garrett, who is the victim. The young boy was said to be an active, playful, energetic kid who loved sports and any athletic activities. Another person to keep in mind is Tandy Cyrus, Garrett's mother, because she could potentially play a key role in her son's death and is the closest person to this case. On October 24th, 2011, surveillance cameras captured Garrett riding home on his ripstick skateboard, making a beeline to his apartment. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No stranger followed the kid home or anything. Moments later, a 911 call came from a neighbor who lived right across Garrett's apartment, reporting she heard loud crashes and someone calling for help.
Potsdam police.
My name is Marrissa Vogel. I thought I heard some screaming like no and help a couple of times.
I said, did you hear that? Either no or ow, and then definitely a help. So I knew it was one of the children right away. It just sounded urgent.
Marissa, the neighbor, rushed to Garrett's home and continuously knocked on the door, but no one answered. From the ruckus she heard inside, Marissa could identify that there was someone in there beside the kids.
Completely quiet until I heard a click of a lock. It was instant goosebumps. There is somebody on the other side of this door who does not want me being here right now.
Keep in mind that the kid is home without an adult because, like many other families in America, parents have to work during the day and leave their children home without supervision. Also, Tandy Cyrus, Garrett's mother, was a single parent raising 2 children. Therefore, it's probably a regular occurrence for her kids to stay home alone while she's at work. In this case, the neighbors were keen enough to know that something was wrong with their next-door neighbor's kid, but unfortunately, they weren't able to intervene before the tragedy happened. By the time the officers arrived on the scene, Garrett was already experiencing cardiac arrest. The paramedics tried their best to save him, but they couldn't. The case went from an attack to a homicide. Can you imagine receiving a phone call at work and hearing that one of your children was hurt? It's every parent's nightmare. Well, Tandy received that very phone call from law enforcement officers that her 12-year-old had a medical emergency. The mother of 2 didn't expect anything more than a few minor injuries, but instead, she was informed that her son was fighting for his life.
Exactly. And then he's telling me that my son is in full cardiac arrest. At one point in time, they had to use the AED machine. Felt like I was watching it happen to somebody else.
Tandy then watched her child pass away.
I stayed in there. I don't even know how long I was in there. I told him I loved him.
The death of Garrett shocked law enforcement and the community because he was okay just a few minutes ago. What could have caused the cardiac arrest? Did someone attack him? Everyone was scrambling to find answers as Tandy mourned the death of her eldest son. Eventually, an autopsy report was released and the content of it was mortifying. The report revealed that Garrett was engaged in a struggle before he passed away. Rug burns were found on his legs and multiple injuries littered his upper body. Finally, his cause of death was concluded as suffocation due to strangulation. This only meant one thing: Garrett was murdered by someone in his own home. A burst of confusion and debate among the public occurred when this information was released. People in the community couldn't believe it, and neither did Tandy, because why would someone want to purposely hurt a 12-year-old?
Next day, I had gone down to the police station, and that was when I had found out it wasn't an accident and that somebody had been in my apartment.
It could be a robbery gone wrong, but there was nothing missing from the home. Also, looking at the injuries, there seems to be some kind of struggle that happened. Whoever this person was clearly chose to attack Garrett, so it could be concluded as a crime of passion, but that doesn't make sense either. Garrett was a lively kid who got along with everybody. No one had a reason to take his life. This was indeed a hard case for investigators. They needed to find answers quickly, and the only person who could help them was Garrett's mother, Tandy.
And everybody liked Garrett, and no one ever had a problem with Garrett, and then it's like, oh, there was one person that had an issue with Garrett.
Just one.
Just one.
Who was it?
Nick.
Nick Hillary.
Yes.
After receiving this tip from Tandy, law enforcement officials began their investigation on Nick Hillary as the prime suspect in this case. Nick Hillary was Tandy's former boyfriend and a soccer coach at Clarkson University. As a single mom, Tandy worked as a bank manager during the day and picked up night shifts at a local bar. She and Nick met at the bar and quickly became involved romantically.
What attracted you to her?
She showed a lot of interest in what I was doing, and she was an athlete herself.
Was she also beautiful?
She was very good looking.
The two of them lived in a predominantly white area in New York, where interracial couples were rarely seen together. Nick Hillary immigrated to the United States from Jamaica at a young age, and he found it in himself to love this country enough to serve in the US Army for a few years. However, it still doesn't change the discriminating way people looked at him for dating a white woman.
Do you feel like you stuck out?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Sometimes you're the only one of color in the grocery store.
There was a little bit of mixed opinions, I guess. Gossip, small town. No, I can't believe they're dating, or that's weird.
It was just a very hostile environment for myself trying to have a relationship with Tandy.
So, a loving couple living in a conservative neighborhood. Understandable, it's not comfortable, and it definitely took a toll on the relationship. It still doesn't explain why Nick was the #1 suspect in Garrett's murder. What happened was Tandy and Nick's relationship only lasted about a year, and they had to break up partially because of the peer pressure in the community. Most importantly, Tandy claimed that Nick was having some issues with her kids, which led to their breakup and Tandy moving out of their shared home to a new apartment.
I told him that my kids weren't happy and I wasn't going to stay in a relationship where my kids were miserable.
What was his reaction?
He thought that I was letting them make my decisions for me.
Apparently, Tandy and Nick disagreed over their ways of disciplining the children. At one point, Tandy claimed that Nick didn't even want to be around her children. Now, that's a red flag for Tandy, so she decided to pack up and leave. Although Nick claimed that they mutually agreed to end the relationship, a string of text messages showed that Tandy was actually the one who ended the relationship due to tension between Nick and her son. Tandy expressed that she felt it would be better not to be with a person whom her kids aren't comfortable with. So it would be fair to say that Garrett and his brother did indirectly contribute to their relationship not working out, but was it his fault? No. Keep in mind that even though Tandy left because of her kids, it still doesn't prove that Nick was violent, abusive, or had a problem with Garrett to the point that he would want to take her child's life.
Do you ever see Nick lose his temper with your children?
He never really disciplined my children.
So you never saw him sick any child?
No.
Or threaten any child?
No.
With that being said, investigators were onto Nick for several reasons. First, he did lose his relationship with Tandy because of Garrett and his brother, and that counts as a motive. Authorities probably associated him with a scornful lover who wanted revenge of some kind.
He blamed my son for our relationship ending.
For losing you. And he didn't want to lose you.
cool.
Then there's the fact that the front door to the home wasn't breached or broken into during the horrible incident, so how did the intruder get into the apartment? Apparently, officers did find one open window at the scene of the crime, and believe that whoever the killer was, they made an incredibly high jump down the side of the apartment complex and escaped. Basically, whoever made the escape had to be extremely athletic to make that jump out of the window without a serious injury. Investigators believe the attacker might have injured themselves while escaping, so they were looking for someone who's fit and had at least one foot injured. Investigators believed that with Nick's athletic skills, he must have broken into the apartment and managed to escape by jumping out of the 20-foot window. There are not many people who could pull that off. Therefore, the soccer coach made a great suspect. Law enforcement officers believed wholeheartedly that Nick was the person they were looking for. So they started to observe Nick from a distance and brought him in for questioning.
They told me, hey, you have to come downtown.
Did you ask why?
They says, well, you know, we would like for you to assist us with the Garrett's case. And I says, okay, no problem.
The questioning process turned out to be more of an observation process. At one point, Nick tried to leave, but he was held back by the officers. And this was when he discovered he was being interrogated as the prime suspect in the case.
Well, you're going to be held on here for a minute anyways.
It turned out the officers obtained a search warrant, so not only did they prevent Nick from leaving, but they also had him stripped down to search him.
They pretty much stripped me as the day I was born.
They took all of your clothes?
Everything was taken. All I left there with was in an hazmat suit.
A hazmat suit?
A hazmat suit. That's what I was released from the station.
Nick wasn't arrested that day because he had 2 alibis from his 15-year-old daughter and assistant coach. However, he was officially arrested in 2014 and charged with second-degree murder. The evidence for his arrest was actually the video footage of Garrett skating home on the day of his murder. The entire case was built on the fact that the security camera caught Garrett riding on his ripstick passing a school parking lot. And apparently, Nick was parked in that same parking lot. What a coincidence. Then, not long after, Garrett rode off camera and Nick was seen reversing his car and driving in the same direction as the 12-year-old. Yes, to build an entire case based on short surveillance footage of someone backing their car out of a parking lot is a bit of a stretch, which was also the biggest flaw of this case. Some of you might be wondering if there was any concrete evidence in this case. Maybe like some DNA evidence or something? At least that would have made it more convincing, but there was none. The only DNA evidence they were able to collect was a small sample under Garrett's fingernail. Then it was revealed that investigators were able to find 4 fingerprints on the apartment's window where the attacker made their escape. And guess what? None of those fingerprints belonged to Nick. Investigators were never able to identify any of the fingerprints. The case faced allegations of mishandling by law enforcement, including issues related to evidence collection and witness statements. Nick Hillary's trial quickly caught flame, earning attention from international and local media, both influencing public opinion. Controversial theories and debates started surfacing. Some people believed it was Nick who murdered his former girlfriend's son and demanded justice for the 12-year-old Garrett. Anyone who lived in Potsdam, New York at the time could turn any corner and find a sign that said "Justice for Garrett." The case was out of control, thanks to media coverage. Nick Hillary had gained a significant number of supporters as well, who believed that he was unfairly targeted due to his race and previous relationship with Tandy. In the beginning, it was planned for Nick to have a jury trial, but for some reason, his defense team asked for a bench trial instead, which means that the judge will make the final verdict of whether he is guilty or not.
The judgment of this court that as to the charge of murder in the second degree as charged in the indictment, the defendant, Oral Nicholas Hillary, is found not guilty.
Of course, due to the lack of evidence in this case, the judge decided to acquit Nick of all charges in 2016. The decision to acquit Nick Hillary had the public thrown into a frenzy. No doubt, there was a wave of mixed emotions on the verdict. The impact of Garrett's case on Nick Hillary and the public has been emotionally and physically draining, yet we're not even close to solving it. From the beginning to the end, Nick stuck to his claim of being innocent, and that his indictment was a result of racial profiling.
Because I think I have crossed the line of being a black man, honestly.
You think it's all about race?
It is. I sincerely think it's all about race.
The popularity of this case is absolutely crazy. There have been so many articles and books written about its unfortunate fate of the 12-year-old who got attacked in his own home. An entire documentary was made about it. But the golden question is, who killed Garrett Phillips?
You can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it that Nick Hillary did this, that he 12-year-old, either out of rage or to punish Tandy, and then clambered out that back window and has managed since then to convey himself as an innocent victim, which would be an act of true pathology. Or that someone else did this and somehow entered that apartment, killed this little boy for reasons unknown, then clambered out that apartment and escaped into the night and has never been heard from again. And either one of those options are frightening.
Do you think Nick Hillary is guilty? Or was this case about racial profiling? Or was there another potential suspect? Please share your thoughts in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications.